Sorry. Neuroethics is an interdisciplinary field of research that investigates the ethical implications of neuroscience from basic research to practical applications and aims to provide normative orientation at the level of individual and society. Neuroethics is thus a field of research, not a homogeneous discipline with its own methodology and exclusive research object. It's driven by the development of neurotechnologies. There is a continuing controversy over the definition and the scope of neuroethics, not least because of the heterogeneity of this new and dynamic field of research. On the one hand, neuroethics is a branch of applied ethics. On the other hand, it has a great overlaps with the neurophilosophy, which speaks against its subordination to applied ethics. Some findings of neuroscience affect people in their self-conception and question traditional notions of autonomy and authenticity. As neuroscience widens room for maneuver, the questions of how people want to be and how they should be poses new impetus. Manipulation of the brain, far-reaching implications for philosophical concepts such as personal identity, moral accountability, and autonomy. In this presentation, I would like to address the brief history of neuroethics, including its institutionalization approach and the present influential definition of neuroethics. Then I'll outline the relationship between bioethics and neuroethics. Finally, I draw a short conclusion by data analysis. Neuroethics can now look back on 16 years of dynamic history. The birth of Neuroethics Mapping the Field conference in San Francisco in 2002 was staged by Stanford University, the University of California, San Francisco, and the Dana Foundation. During a meeting at Ashlamma in 2006, the first professional society, the Neuroethics Society, was founded. 4 years later, the Neuroethics Society merged with the 2005 International Neuroethics Network. In 2011, the society was named International Neuroethics Society to emphasize its internationality. The INS organizes an annual meeting in the United States, which takes place in recent years following the Society for Neuroscience conference. Since 2009, there is also the conference with brain matters at most American universities. In Europe, its own neuroethic organizations have formed. For example, in 2007, the European Neuroscience and Society Network was founded and continues under the name Neuroscience and Society Network. The European Association for Neuroscience and Law was founded in Padua in 2010. In 2013, the Società Italiana di Neuroetica e Filosofia delle Neuroscienze was founded. The Arbeitsgemeinschaft Neuroethik was founded in April 2015. The Instituto de Bioética da Universidad Católica Portuguesa in Porto also organized the second International Neuroethics Conference in 2016. With the fund of relevant journals like Neuroethics, American Journal of Bioethics and Neuroscience, Journal of Cognition and Neuroscience. The new field of research gained greater visibility. According to a recent bibliometric study, neuroethical essays appear more frequently in biomedical journals than in humanities and social science journals. In Asian countries, China, Japan, and Korea started national brain initiatives. So Japan started first as Brain Mind, and Korea, second Korea Brain Initiative, and China Brain Project have been developed or being developed. Korea Brain Initiative has incorporated neuroethics and neuroethicists into the design of its recently launched program. In China, the scientists are working with the government to incorporate a neuroethics committee into the project. Now there are 7 international brain initiatives, and they are going to meet in Seoul next year. And there are numerous monographs and anthologies on neuroethics, including Oxford Handbook of Neuroethics Anticipating the Future, Handbook of Neuroethics, Luttrich Handbook of Neuroethics, and Advances in Neuroethics series was recently initiated. The majority of authors publishing in neuroethics work in institutions that either belong to biomedical research or medical ethics. Only a minority are employed in humanities or social science faculties. The definitions and goals of neuroethics. The term neuroethics was already coined in 1973 by the German doctor Annelies Pontius, who passed away this January. I hit the wrong button. In 1989, the neurologist Ronald Cranford renamed the new type of specialist the neuroethicist, or neurologist with expertise in bioethics, often called upon to deal with questions such as brain death or end-of-life care in dementia. However, it took almost 30 years for the neuroethics to be proclaimed as a separate scientific area at the conference Neuroethics Mapping the Field in 2002. In the conference, Sapphire notably described neuroethics as the examination of what is right and wrong, good and bad about the treatment, perfection of, or unwelcome invasion of, and worrisome manipulation of the human brain. And Sapphire asserted that the species of brain science hits home as research in no other organ does, asserting that because our brain makes us individuals and our livers do not, then neurons deserve a special status. Their term can be defined as follows. Neuroethics is an autonomous part of bioethics, which in turn means the evaluation of good and bad consequences in medical practice and biological research. but the specific ethics of brain research affects us like no other research on other organ does. It deals with our consciousness, our self-understanding, and is therefore central to our existence. Thus, neuroethics, despite its location within bioethics, is ascribed a significance beyond this. This emphasis is especially critically received outside of neuroethics. Others have followed suit, such as neurologist James Bonnet and the physician and the bioethicist Joseph Fins. The latter has formulated seminal critiques against current neuroethics, stressing the need to reorient effort to address important healthcare-related questions. Clearly, these pioneers held a view according to which neuroethics should be dedicated to examining ethical questions related to clinical practice in neurology and psychiatry. Others view neuroethics as a content field of bioethics, which is defined by its focus on different neurotechnologies. Paul Wolf states that neuroethics involves the analysis of ethical challenges posed by chemical, organic, and electrochemical interventions in the brain. Neuroethics encompasses both research and clinical applications of neurotechnology, as well as the social and the police issue attendant to their use. By Paul Wolf, neuroethics is a content field defined by the technologies it examines rather than any particular philosophical approach. The field distinctiveness derives from novel questions posed by applying advanced technology to the brain, the seat of personal identity and executive function in the whole human organism. Neuroethics include both scientific and clinical applications of neurotechnology, as well as social and political aspects related to these applications. With a strong emphasis on medical and technical interventions, neuroethics in this definition is only one part of medical ethics. So, while Sapphire's definition is seen by some authors as too broad, it appears to other neuroethics as too narrow, just like Wolf's. For example, Eric Rushin sees neuroethics as a new research area at the border between bioethics and neuroscience, which focuses on the ethics of neuroscience research and the ethical issues arising in the translation of neuroscience research into the clinical and the public spheres. This view of neuroethics as a content field of bioethics dominated the first years of publications in neuroethics. A review found that the characterization of neuroethics as an ethics of neuroscience and the branch of bioethics were respectively the first and first most common ways of describing neuroethics by lysine. Neuroethics as an ethics of neuroscience and neurotechnology described earlier, however, is not the only view of the field. Another view builds on the ethics of neuroscience, but adds that neuroscience of ethics is a key area of focus of neuroethics. By Loskis, as I see it, there are two main areas of neuroethics: the ethics of neuroscience and the neuroscience of ethics. If one take up by basis the widely accepted distinction between ethics and morality, Loskis' term neuroscience of ethics is misleading. According to this distinction, morality is to be found understood as the totality of moral rules as a particular culture, while ethics refers to the science of morality, which examines various moral systems both descriptively and normatively. The research object of the neuroscience of ethics is not the science of morality, that is ethics, but morality itself. In this respect, it would be more correct to speak of neuroscience of morality than neuroscience of ethics. Moreover, the inclusion of neuroscience of ethics is rejected, for example, by Conrad and Brice, who see neuroethics burning the bridges between neuroethics and their mother discipline bioethics. Now, in the following, I want to introduce currently most important topics of the bioethics of neuroscience. The bioethics of neuroscience analyzes ethical issues of neuroscientific research and development and their applications in medicine, healthcare, technology, and other areas of society. It overlaps in part with the general research ethics, clinical ethics, public health ethics, and other areas of applied ethics. Special emphasis is placed on clinical neuroethics, which deals with the ethical questions in psychiatry, neurology, neuroradiology, neurosurgery, and radiosurgery. Many of these questions are not originally neuroethical, but have a specific context in neuroethics. The neuroethical problems in medicine and healthcare can be divided up: psychiatry, neurology and neuroradiology, neurosurgery and radiosurgery, and neuro-inspired of technology. The issues of psychiatry includes impact of biological explanatory models for mental illness on the discrimination and the stigmatization of the mentally ill, definition and the determination of mental illness, medicalization, extension of diagnostic criteria, drug treatment of children, psychiatric advanced order, ethical demand for storing self-determination, if necessary by means of compulsory treatment, influence of psychiatry and neurological disorders on moral and criminal liability, assessment of culpability using neuroscientific method, memory modification with pharmacological or technological measures, and the functional imaging for the diagnosis of pedophilia or psychopathy. The issues of neurology and neuroradiology include dementia, functional imaging to establish awareness in non-responsive patients and to establish communication. Deep brain stimulation for patients in coma or minimal conscious state, brain death, and non-invasive neurostimulation. The issues of neurosurgery and radiosurgery include personality changes through neuro and radiosurgical therapies of epilepsy and brain tumors, deep brain stimulation and ablative procedure for neurological and psychiatric diseases, brain-computer interfaces and neuroprosthesis, and intracranial stem cell plantation, optogenetic research on psychiatric disorders, and legal consequences of offenses as a result of personality change due to brain surgery. Finally, neuro-inspired technology include dual use of neuro-inspired technology, neurorobots, And non-medical use of neuroscientific procedure include neuro enhancement, moral enhancement, and autonomy enhancement, interventions in the brain to treat deviance, military applications, neuromarketing, neuroeducation, functional imaging for lie detection, consequences for crime prevention, investigations on the phenomenon of false memories of witness and neurogame. I did a short analysis. I recovered 144 journal articles dated 2004 to 2018 by searching the PubMed database for neuroethics and bioethics, and found that the article could be divided into two groups around 2012. These data were further analyzed by KRP. During the earlier case, it was analyzed that the author attempt to separate neuroethics from the realm of bioethics. But during the later phase, neuroethicists are more willing to adapt principles and methodologies of bioethics, which pose the rapid institutionalization of neuroethics. Meanwhile, the bioethicists and the bioethics journal could have broadened its scope to bioethics of neuroscience. Here is my graph for the analysis. The dot size represent the central, the importance of the keyword, and the line between the dots represent the connectivity of the two keywords. As the figure shows, the bioethics and the neuroethics shares all the ethical issues and concerns relevant to the interventions in the brain. The result indicates that bioethics, neuroethics, and the neuroscience are closely related. From the literature survey, it is supposed to be more fruitful not to separate, but to collaborate between the field of bioethical and neuroethical research. "17 years after its foundation, neuroethics has become an international scientific field with tremendous dynamism. This manifests itself in an incipient process of scientific independence of its own research institutions, publication organs, and discussion forums. However, as we have stated, there is considerable dissent over their definitions and the subject matter. The relevance of these topics for neuroethical discourses is undeniable, yet their membership in neuroethics as an area of inquiry is unclear, given their low prevalence in the literature and the lack of unambiguous demarcation of neuroethics as a discipline. Demarcating the identity of the neuroethics community is difficult for a variety of reasons. Liefman conducted a systematic literature review to investigate the quantitative development of scientific publications in neuroethics from 1995 to 2012. Their results show that the academic background and the affiliation of many neuroethics researchers speak for a very close enkindlement of neuroscience and neuroethics, confirming the narrow focus of neuroethics discourse as my future present. Most importantly, Liefman et al. Observed that after more than 1 decade, there still is no dominant agenda for the future of neuroethics research. The reason for which they call for reflections on the theoretical underpinnings and prospects for establishing neuroethics as a market of research field distinct from neuroscience and the diverse branches of bioethics. This uncertainty about whether gray zones in the neuroscience ethics entanglement should be legitimately considered components of neuroethics might negatively affect the identity of researchers working in this area as members of the neuroethics community. We must fill the gap between the neuroethics and the bioethics and must encourage young researchers to engage in this new field of research by actively embracing neuroethics in the realm of bioethics. Thank you.
For the discussion and the feedback and the comments. Thank you for your attention. Please. And if you would like to raise your hand and to present your
I am Dr. Shakur from Bangladesh. My question is for the first presenter. I have been learned many things from your presentation, and first of all, I like to thank you for your brilliant presentation. But I also related to neuro rehabilitation, so I have a small question to you. What may be the ethical dilemma or ethical issues when you involve a person with a stroke? What may be the ethical dilemma or ethical issues when you involve a patient with a stroke in a research? You can understand? What will be the ethics, neuroethics, when you include a patient having a stroke, that is an unconscious person, in a research in neuro rehab or neuroethics? It's a very small question. What will be the ethics? Whether I can explore it. If the patient is unconscious, he could not give any informed consent. So this is on kind of ethical issues to include this person in your research work. So many ethical issues and dilemma over there. So I have the query, what are the ethical issues when you involve a person that may be an unconscious person with a stroke? It's a very simple question. Thank you.
Please, Professor, would you like to say something?
Yes, I finally got you. Dr. Suchan also, like Dr. Finns, has an emphasis on the human rights of the unconsciousness person. Yeah. And he reported that the 41% of the vegetative state patient is minimal state, consciousness state. So, as you know it, the rights of the vegetative state patients is very vulnerable to enduring, to give some consent and to give him life support system. So probably in the Asian countries, the consent are given by the family members or the guardians, but I think the individual patient has not much right on the informed consent rather than the members of the families. So that will be a problem because the patients in unconsciousness state cannot give correct information, no informed consent before the enduring his life or give a life support system. So it's sorry. I think it's one of the human rights that the Dr. Finns stressed. Sorry, not for sufficient. Yes.
So, anyone would like to feedback? Please.
Hello. Yes, I would like to question or just give you a comment. Bang-ook Jun about burning the bridges between neuroethics and bioethics. In India also, there are more old people who are becoming dementia. They are suffering from dementia, and children are suffering from dyslexia and ADHD. There are so many. I would like UNESCO or Korea and your help to inform the medical university as well as in Tamil Nadu, Madras University, where they have neuroscience, MSc neuroscience, to advise them to bring about neuroethics and bioethics together so that that will improve the population. And as far as Sir Sonato Gajah University, I would again request UNESCO or even Indonesia to advise the medical universities as well as the Madras University and other state universities and central universities in India to bring about what you call teach bioethics for transgenerations as well as introduce bioethics committee in the medical universities. I would like you to advise. That's all.
Thank you for your comment. As you suggest, the science and the neuroethics should go together. So in Korea, we are going to plan to include the neuroethics curriculum in medical university. And second, we have a neuroethics. We are going to have a neuroethics information center, which fill the gap between the neuroscientists and the neuroethicists and the neuroethics and the general public. And we are going to write a book for the beginners, for the public. And most of all, we are going to initiate the National Neuroethics Committee by law. So we are preparing the legislation for that. Thank you.
Please, yes.
Thank you very much. Yeah, maybe I use the other. You can hear me okay? Thank you. Yes, my name is Sarah Mason. Thank you very much for the. Thank you for the excellent presentations. I'd like to ask a question on the ethics of neurological modification through education to become better people, which is a theme to link both of your presentations. In education, we are engineering people, engineering their morality and their social characters. As Professor Sonato mentioned, there are different characters, and often older generations criticize younger generations. This has gone on for millennia. We can see it in ancient writings from there. Are there distinct characters or not? We can certainly see personality traits divided between characters, and how do we respond to those different personalities through tailoring ethics? And do we want, for example, to make individualists into communitarians, and communitarians to express their own identity in making better decisions and informed decisions? So finding this balance between different personality traits is a mandate of education. At the same time, this then presents us the question of, it is a neurological intervention. It's called education. It's been going on for a long time. So we're social engineering. So what are the criteria for this, to Professor Bang-ook Jun? How do we provide limits? Should we engineer people to become better? And then we have different traits that were presented in the lecture. Is bioethics the art of decision making better decisions, more informed choices for ourselves? Or is it the art of becoming better, more loving individuals and communities? And maybe it's both. And for those who are interested, the discussions of neuroethics we had since ABC 5, most Asian Bioethics conferences have some session or talk on neuroethics, and you can find some of these on YouTube on the channel. But we're still left with these persistent questions, I think, and so it was a good, very excellent start to the conference. Some questions for both of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Daniel. Your question is very, very complicated. It's not easy to be answered. But I think if we would like to educate to our people, really not only the young people, but also the middle or the old people. But maybe the way in teaching or the way I like to, even to the student, not I teach them, let us discuss together. This is the issues. I think the same with between the orders. Discussion, good communication is one of the way in educate indirectly to others. That is my short answer. Do you agree with that? If you don't agree, let us afterward we can discuss again.
Of course, I agree with you. You're my teacher. Thank you.
Yeah. We are living in a very competitive environment, especially in Asian countries, for education, job, and promotion, and there is a large tendency to increase the intelligence through the neurostimulation or neuroenhancement. But most I worry is the recent transcranial direct current stimulation, which is performed by some to produce on the skulls and give them small amount of direct current. So it is non-invasive. Yet the companies are trying to give the direct to consumer experiences on the school children to increase their intelligence or to increase their school record. So I think it is a heavy problem that we must deal with. I think in these days I read on newspaper articles that the TDS, transcranial direct current stimulation, gives some increase of the memories of young people, but I think we cannot change the we should not change the identity of the people, especially the narrative identity of the people. So I think that is the bottom limit of the neuroenhancement.
Yes, please, the gentleman. Yes.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Sean from the University of Tasmania. A lot of the discussions in neuroethics, for instance, and also in bioethics have focused a lot on Western perspectives. Even if you survey the literature, there is so much discussion that are purported by neuroethicists in Canada and Australia, in the US, and a lot of these discussions follow bioethical principles that are based on a lot of Western principles like principalism and utilitarianism. So I'm just wondering, also for both panelists, what do Asian philosophies from Confucianism, from Taoism, especially on the philosophy of mind, or in bioethics, how do they play a role in shaping policies and in shaping regulations for a lot of projects, especially like, for instance, in the Korean Brain Initiative, in the Japanese Brain Initiative, and in the Chinese Brain Initiative? Should we just actually apply the frameworks that are being used by the Human Brain Project or by the Australian Brain Project in our regulations and policies regarding confidentiality, privacy, or what research should we prioritize or not? Thank you.
Thank you. So, anyone would like to feedback? Yes.
I'm sorry. Maybe I can see. I myself, not a philosopher, might be I myself as an applied, I'm not a bioethicist, I'm applied bioethicist. So, in daily life, I apply bioethics in many activities. So that is maybe one way that we can do, rather than teaching, and discussing, but we follow. Let's say if we communicate with the student, we communicate with the faculty members, we communicate with the people, lay people, even the lay people, we can use the simple way, simple terminology, not too high, not too philosophical terminology, but we can use a simple terminology that could be adopted by our friends or our student or our component, and in this case, in discussion. That is my answer in this case. Hopefully, can we answer your? Is that question or is that?
I think more of my question is like, where do Asian philosophies or Asian principles such as Confucianism or Buddhism actually play a role in shaping bioethics education and practice in Asian countries?
Yeah, sometimes in medicine, we use the cases. That is a polite one. Because let's say if we are facing with terminally ill, for example, in this case, there's so many dilemmas, ethical dilemmas, so many ethical dilemmas. So that's why that is what we can do, what we can do for the people. It's not easy really.
So may I take an advantage as a chair? I would like to say a few words. In old Chinese way of education, to educate is not only to give the knowledge to the receiver, but also to educate a person as a good, how to be a person. And the final goal is to how to be a good person. This is the old Chinese Confucius way to teach. So if I implicate this scenario into a current situation, we can say our ethical is not only based on personal. In Asian culture, we are also linked with the social components. And the final is about the legal components. As the cases mentioned about the comatose case, unconscious case, so he is not responsible. He can't take his own responsibility. But what's the role of the social component in deciding the scenario of this comatose case? And also the legal components. For example, the social components, we have a lot of the identifiable guidance to support the decision making. Yeah, even though the case is unconsciousness. And also the legal component is backup, support the decision from the social components. For example, our legal component is that if you can identify the legal representative, maybe the spouse, maybe the children, they can make a decision. And even though it is not due to the person autonomy, but due to the social network, we can make a decision for this. So I think that is the importance as an ABC. We would like to identify the Asian culture, how to implicate into the situation of this bioethical issue. Yes, yeah, this is my yes. Professor Yan.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It's really a very good comment on it. And I think, yes, you have already answered it, functionally, but can I just answer in one sentence that how we, in these opportunities Asian Bioethics Conference. Explore our local wisdom for global solutions. Because by having those, we can share that. I believe that each of us has a local wisdom that could be shared. And of course, it must be very suitable to be implemented in their individual cultures, religions, etc. Do I make a comment of yours? Thank you very much. This is very important.
Close to the end section.
Thank you. Thank you, and it's good to have you ask the question because it relates to the origins of the Asian Bioethics Association. So, in 1995, when we founded the association, it was a rejection of the concept of colonization from Western bioethics and Western systems of epistemology of knowledge onto other countries to say you should follow principalism or you should follow certain systems of knowledge. So if you look in the proceedings of the previous 19 conferences in the Asian Bioethics Journal, many other journals which you can find outside, you'll find several thousand papers published on the topic from Asian scholars. But it's a perpetual question. What is distinctly Asian or African or indigenous or whatever about each Indonesian, Malaysian, what it is. I think one of the principles that I'm finding more and more is that some things unite. For example, karmic systems. We can find the imposition of legal systems that you should pay for your mistakes or you should have responsibility. That's rather common. And that can be argued from Western principalism or from Eastern karmic systems of knowledge. Both can be applied. And we've looked at many of the principles, many of the scholars in this room have written about it. So I invite you, please, also write yourself about how you think in your education to date local knowledge was applied to help shape your responses. That you can find responses, and please actively ask transgenerational questions to the people of different generations here and different backgrounds, and maybe together we can find an answer to your question.
If I can come into this. I want to, I'm Professor Dr. Taslima Mansoor, the Dean of Law of Dhaka University. I wanted to share, my experience as a legal expert, not as, I'm also the President of Bangladesh Bioethics Society. It is really values, not only knowledge and skills, but also values, which is very much important. And values that keeps us to be a good human being. So these values can be international, values can be local, but the values is the main thing. It can be religious. So I think we also in International Association of Law Schools, we came back and to find out the outcome of legal education. We found that the main thing is not only knowledge and skills, but also values, which is very much important: justice, equity, good conscience. So this is the things also I think the 19th Asian Bioethics Conference will highlight. Thank you.
Thank you for the comments. So thank you for all the speakers, two brilliant speakers about these two important topics, and also all the audience for the comments and the questions. Thank you. So we have the half an hour's coffee break. So please come back and be